Happy Friday! So today I wanted to show you guys this fun science experiment that you guys can do at home with your family. So this experiment is called the lava lamp experiment, and so you're going to need some materials. So first I would like you guys to grab these. Most of these things you should be able to have at home. If not, you have some time to maybe when you go to the grocery store to pick up a couple of these things. So the first thing that you are going to need is vegetable oil. And then you also are going to need water and food coloring. The food coloring you can buy at a grocery store, and the place you'll find it at is in the baking aisle, okay? So any color will work. I have red and green, but choose your favorite. And then you're also going to need an Alka-Seltzer tablet, okay? And you can find these again at your grocery store, drugstore, or even the dollar store has them. And the last thing you're going to need is a jar. Okay, I grabbed a small glass jar. It should be see-through, that way you can see what's happening. Okay, so hopefully you're able to go and grab those materials to make your lava science experiment. Now we're going to focus on a couple of vocabulary words and some questions that I want you to think about before you start doing this experiment. So the first vocabulary word is hypothesis. That's an important science word. Max, can you tell them what the definition of hypothesis is?
A hypothesis is a prediction.
That is correct. Thank you. Max, my assistant today, he told you the definition of a hypothesis. So it is a prediction, and as you're trying to come up with a hypothesis based on this experiment and thinking about the materials that I just showed you, here are some questions that I want you guys to think about before you even start, and I want you to try to answer these. The first question is, what will happen when we combine the oil and the water? So take some time to think about that. What will happen, and try to answer that right now. What will happen when these two things are combined? Okay, and the next question is, will the food coloring that we use have an effect on those liquids? And then the last question is, what will happen when we drop the Alka-Seltzer into the jar of all of these liquids? So those are three questions I want you to take your time to think about. And then that will be your hypothesis based on those answers to your questions. The next word that I want you to focus on is the word density. Now, density, I'm not going to give you the definition, but I want you to see if you can define it as we're doing the experiment. Just take the time to think about that. Think about the word, how we've used it before in class, how maybe you've heard it elsewhere. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to do is grab your clear glass jar, and you are going to fill it a quarter of the way through. Okay, so Max is going to go ahead and do that. Okay, excellent. Now we have our jar quarter of the way full. Okay, and then the next thing is you're going to grab your vegetable oil, okay, and you're just going to fill it, okay, and you're going to watch to see what happens. Remember that question, what will happen when we combine those two liquids? And if you take a closer look, okay, you can see what's happening. Max, can you explain what's going on right now with the oil and the water?
The vegetable oil is sitting on top of the water.
You are right. The vegetable oil is sitting on top of the water. And now I wonder why that happens. Do you know, Max, why that happens? How that separates and why?
The water separates from the the vegetable oil is because of density.
That's correct. Yes, because of the density of what? The water or the oil?
The oil.
Right. The oil, is it more dense than the water or less dense?
Less.
Less. So the oil is less dense. So basically water, okay, has more density because of the fact that water is made up of atoms, like we all are, okay? We all are made up of atoms. And so because there's so many more atoms in water, okay, it's heavier and that is why water is sitting at the bottom and the oil is basically floating up at the top. Okay, our next step is to go ahead and pour a few drops into your jar of food coloring. Max, what is happening so far? What do you see?
The food coloring is sinking to the bottom.
Yes, the food coloring, the drops are beginning to sink to the bottom. So scientists do this when they experiment. They make observations. So I observe that the food coloring is beginning to drop down to the bottom, and it's starting to seep through the oil into the water. And I'm just going to do a couple more drops. 1, 2. And then our last step is the fun step. So you're going to grab your Alka-Seltzer tablet, open up the tablet packet, and then you're going to go ahead and cut it in half. And then Max is going to go ahead and drop the first one. Observe what happens. There's a reaction happening there. And you can see that the Alka-Seltzer is having an effect on the oil and the water and the food coloring, and it's causing all of these bubbles all around, just like a lava lamp. And that's because of the gas and the carbon dioxide that's being created. So think about the questions that you answered. How will the food and water, how will the oil and the water react? Okay, how will the food coloring affect this? And what happened when the Alka-Seltzer was dropped into the jar? Okay, so that's a little fun that you guys can do at home with some materials. Don't forget, try this, and then once you do, send me pictures, email, post them on Google Classroom, or you can also send me a text message with your pictures. And I'm gonna go ahead and just drop one whole tablet and see what happens. All right, happy Friday, guys. I hope you guys have fun with it. Thank you, Max, for being my assistant. Okay, talk to you guys next week. Bye.